I want to summarize as best as I can as to what I have found. And to me, it's very interesting. Um, so let me start from this one. Elsewhere, I mentioned that Ben Franklin's word that don't carry your work until next day. Things you can do, you should finish today. And I don't agree with that. If it's a minuscule work, that's fine, but it's a difficult work. You shouldn't. And if you push it, you can push to a degree, but you have to know, you have to have a measure gauge. Don't stress yourself too much. That's one. And be reasonable that, especially in the current condition of AI taking over, and there are lots of avenues to get things done. Plus, you don't want to be the slave of the situation. More, you want to have the destiny in your hand. So if you're a peon in the organization, of course, you may have to stretch, and especially when you're young. But as you get middle age and more, you have to be more wiser than just doing like a machine work. Which means that don't listen to that word of doing things done. Actually, I have my college friend who passed away at age 50 or so because he worked so hard. And it doesn't make sense. And you stress yourself beyond your threshold, your physical situation would deteriorate. And if you continue doing it, especially if you don't like the job, something missing, then my suggestion is don't do it. And people say simply like don't procrastinate. And I believe that's wrong. It's not considering the capability of the people, the age and the interest and the needs. And also, there may be other way to do it if you sleep on it. So you have to look at the whole picture, not just be like a machine and be told what to do, even Ben Franklin. You have to make sense out of it. I think I learned it by watching Goeff Hinton about certain AI-related work, and he was very open. I think Penn, I forgot his last name. There was another Nobel Prize winner, and Goeff Hinton was saying that he was wrong. Penrose, I think, was the English guy. And no, that was quite good to listen to that story in that video I shared elsewhere. Maybe I'll share this again, because that video indicates how to use your brain and calm. And also, adding to that, in that video was his describing of the back propagation. It's part of the AI system that instead of the kind of like top-down approach of how to process it, in layman's term, which I understand this way, is that he looked at more the use of intuition, and not just a programming approach, but also listen to your heart, so to speak. So that helped the process much, much better in the AI development. And I think that's part of the reason why he got this Nobel Prize. And that is in line to the view I have with this brain and heart relationship. And I mentioned about the middle way. And let me just repeat what middle way is, the way I understand. I think Nagarjuna, very famous guy after Buddha, had a book on it. But my intuition is this. You have the brain that you can use. You have a heart that you can listen to. And the middle way is not just keep on using the brain and not just keep using the heart or listening to the heart, but find the happy medium. How do you find it? Well, that's another question, but depending on the needs and your perception you just like I think that was Kant was talking about. Concept without intuition is what's the word he used? Concept without intuition is meaningless or something, and intuition without concept is blindness. So it talks about the relationship, in my view, of the brain and the heart. So what he's saying is that because of that statement, one is looking from top down, the other one is looking up from the bottom, from the heart. You have to have a good connecting point. That's, like I said in my book, use the brain and listen to your heart. And the Dalai Lama gave me in the foreword. He said, use the brain, but at the same time listen to your heart, which is really difficult to do. And I can talk about it, but I can talk in the other way to come to this point. So anyway, the middle way is to figure out the amount of level where you meet the happy medium, so that if you only using the hammer and see everything is nail, you just use this, or you can use this heart only. If you use heart only, then you're not using brain, so you're like animal. If you're using the brain only without listening to your heart, it's like a machine. It doesn't make any sense. So we are the human, and we better understand this. That's the way I see the middle way. And by training yourself to have that model and balance out, usually many people don't have the connection to the heart. That's my view, because the society and all the stuff going on and the work is more productive if you have to use this scale, approach that once you do it and keep doing it without thinking about it. So you make a machine, the modern times, Charlie Chaplin. That's insane. Just like my point of this GM worker, 15 years working without being asked any question, any suggestion. That's inhumane. So the modern day society is like that, and it's becoming more so. And the higher level guys start to introduce this more technology and all that, and there's all the computers, and I have this volume problem that I had from the MacBook old 2015, and the new one, I still have the same problem. So people complain to me that my volume is not right. And I check it every now and then I forget about it. So I get hit, and it's kind of simple thing, but I still couldn't figure out. So I spent maybe another 30 minutes talking with the chat GPT, but this time it's Gemini. And they agree that my solution is more pragmatic. I found a way around it. Instead of asking these guys to figure out and for me to go through all the check and all that because it didn't make sense, I found a way. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's more pragmatic, just using iMovie and adjusting the volume before you do it. So it's just additional step, but that would assure it's a quality checkpoint that I can bring in. So I get kind of distracted to this conversation. But the point is this middle way looking at it. Don't just do the thing and forget the listening to heart, because that's the point that I mentioned strongly, where the wisdom come and the compassion come. And if the wisdom and compassion is gone, let's say, in your life, it's really sad. And that's where I explain the Myokonin, Namuamidabutsu. Okay, this is crazy word Namuamidabutsu. I don't want to hear it. Your brain may say that, but just open up your mind a little bit, and let me explain that. Whether it's Namuamidabutsu, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, it doesn't matter. That's just the anchoring point. And what it does is a simple thing. Stop and observe what's going on. And this is easy to say, but get the hang of it takes time. Let me just explain. Number one, vipassana, this breathing and the inner body sensation, meditation, and samadhi. That is to learn not to keep on using your mind, right? I said it many times that we need to have a break. And when you have the break in meditation, that's one. And I do it every day for 20 minutes and with some talk so that, I cover all angles for myself and for you who are visiting to that 20 minutes Let's Meditate segment. And there's enough ideas that pops up every day. So I can always throw in ideas and how I did it and how you might want to do it. So it's an application-oriented way of meditation. Instead of you are told what to do, how do you do it? You can do that. But sometimes my kind of approach may also stimulate. You can combine those. And the other category of people are not the want to do my way or this 10-day course and more heavy way. They just don't want to do it. So let's say Myokonin is one of those, they don't want to do it. Because that requires self-power to sit and listen to and do things, which they don't really want because this brain approach was bombarding them, especially when they're illiterate or not well accustomed to all the complexity of how to use the computer and stuff like that. I have that tendency. So if you are in that category of people, some are the other ones that they can mathematically or brain-wise they can do it. That's what the Goeff Hinton story. But his case was not so much of this. He was less capable with math, meaning this part. But he wanted to go this discussion, the back propagation, like listening to the heart and intuition to have it programmed in AI. But that AI is similar to the neural linkage we have. And therefore, if there are people like that who has a tendency of even 20 minutes difficult, what do they do? So I have this story of Nakayama. I met him for 15 years before he passed away. And we had a great conversation. He's a physicist and the category of people who doesn't want to do sitting and meditating. So he took approach of the koan, which is like facing the difficulty, a paradoxical issue, and still break through. Hear the sound of one hand clapping, or who is the face of the parents before you are born. Those are the examples of the koan, let's say. And he liked that approach, koan approach, not sitting approach. So the Soto Zen is sitting approach. Koan Zen is like a Hakuin, Rinzai approach. And I kind of went both of them, but awakening happened from the Soto approach, which is like a Vipassana, just sit. Because when you are in that samadhi state, you are already Buddha. That's what they say. So there's no awakening type of thing. They're more of a stationary approach, but the Dogen uses koan a little bit, but emphasis is just sit and meditate. I'm like a Nakayama side, but I had also interest of the Dogen side, so I did the Vipassana for 10 days and more on, a dozen times and more. But I can understand the reason is perhaps a little bit like Goeff Hinton. I'm lazy. I don't want to do the math. I just want to grab the answer to it. And grabbing the answer intuition is the koan approach. So they don't want to sit. Well, no, I shouldn't say they don't want to sit. They sit and do the koan, but it's kind of a mixed approach that they do in the Rinzai or Hakuin type of Zen. Now, the Shin Buddhism, to me, is on this side. As I said somewhere else, that the other people can be illiterate or not related to the intellectual part of the society and the work. So, like my friend Michio worked and he couldn't stand it. And I couldn't stand in many cases, I still remember. And even now, going through this computer and doing this and that, and the AI tells me, do this, do this, do this, and I don't want to do it, and then I come up with my own answer to that question of the volume thing. Because I fed up with this feeling like a machine to go through this. And if you are good at it, you may be good at it, but that may lose the touch with the heart. And the programmed approach is pushed out from top-down approach, especially Western and American. The money is not speaking, and all the stuff is going on. So people are left behind, and the wealth gap is widening. And that's crazy. And the one in here, and I'm hoping that they find a job which doesn't require using too much of the brain, because that's going to be taken over by the AI, right? So you have to have you will have a breathing when you're young and grow up, supposedly. I don't know if it's going to happen, but because AI can do it, but you have to have the way to use AI, and the area that you can contribute may becoming shifting from the mind approach, top-down approach, to your more creative side of the work and fun you can have. And that I hope would happen, but there's no guarantee. So depending on the personal characteristics, personality, what you like, some are this way, some are the other way. So back to the Myokonin. I said that when they do Namuamidabutsu or chanting, you don't have to chant. Even Shinran said that. But it depends on who you are. You can just imagine. You stop and observe. That's what I said early on. And that's what samadhi is. And stop and observe. Shikan in Japanese is equivalent of samatha vipassana, which is the one that we are talking in Zen, in Soto Zen and Vipassana, very similar to do that. And then there's a pros and cons anyway. But again, then more emotional part, less of the intellectual, more humanistic, compassionate part, especially those like Myokonin, lower level of the people. Not to say they are very unfortunate to be in the position because of whatever the reason that happened, they don't like the other stuff. and this other guy, that didn't want to go to this emotion and, the other way. So that's part of who we are. But these guys, Myokonin especially, I'm very much fond of them. I like them. I can relate with them. And what they say is that they are more here and now, not so much logic, right? They're intuitive. Here and now means closer to heart. So that means intuitive. So they say they don't want to kill anything. They're very heart-oriented people. And when they said Namuamidabutsu, even without saying it, they point that instant, that point comes as if because of Namuamidabutsu, you get the samadhi or the nirvana or pure land. As soon as the word comes out, that's already pure land, nirvana. Because Because when they say that, this is the point, very interesting, because I want you to do it, because I have been doing it. I have done this way, but I'm doing this right now, and I have been testing because I'm so interested in how they do it, and I see the benefit and relating to Nakayama's story, that and also intuition-based approach story, without the self-powered approach of going through the exercise. Maybe they're lazy too. So the Nakayama is definitely lazy, and I'm also lazy and fun-loving. And maybe Goeff Hinton maybe a little bit on this side too, because he could do both. Anyway, those Myokonin, as I listen to over and over and over, I get it, because I try it the same way. I get to the same sense of nirvana without sitting. Because even if I do this meditation, let's meditate kind of a course, I've done maybe 150 or 60. Before that, I was much lazier, and I monitored, anyway, the time and everything else, but I have been attracted. So when I notice how they do it and what they say, the bottom line of it is, like I said, stop and see. And when you stop and see and think, the image of Amida Buddha is helping, they just transform, turn the corner. So what happens is that there's one saying from Saichi. I can write it down in the description. I don't remember well, but he basically says every day he can go in and out of that state multiple times, which I do too. So you may think it's weird to go into heaven or Pure Land or whatever, or Samadhi instantly. And that's what he says, and that's what I feel. So if you know what I said about the fire and the palisades, the problem I had the possibility, and I talked about it in one of the video. I could see me going in and out. Oh, this happens, and breathe in, okay. And then another popping up, and then it's okay. So I was surprised. So 5 days later, 7 days later, I was still checking that why I'm not sad and upset and this and that. Few thoughts popped up, but it's not the major thing. And I have lost chunk of money and way back before, and that was a miserable experience. So this is like a different person. Maybe I aged, but surprisingly, that experience is similar to this Saichi talking about. I go into Pure Land and I come back. I go in there and come back. I'm going to put this one in the description again, most proper comment. That was found from Daisetsu's book about Christian and Buddhist something like that. I'll put into the description. So Saichi said many poems, and that indicate, and he talks about the breathing in and out, I mentioned elsewhere. So breathing in and out is like a meditation that we do, anapana. So they do those things. So style and approach may look different, but the fundamental part, the substance of what's going on, is actually very, very similar. If the word can be interpreted and see the analogy of it, then you can come from this end or this end. And that is more versatile because everybody is not one end, but the other. You may be here or there, maybe some distribution, and many people want to be on one side, but many people are in between. I'm not saying you should be confused, but if you have the principle well understood and go over and over with different case studies, like the case of Goeff Hinton and Saichi and Nakayama and Daisetsu and Dogen and Hakuin, each of them want to tell you what is the passage that works or not. But there's a middle way, which is more versatile if you get it. And I think you can. You might want to start one and go deep, and you want to come to this way, or you can start from this and stay there, or you come to this. But if you listen to what I just said about the generic profile of the people and the connection and which way to come and how they meet, and the samadhi may be seen as the ground level point that we can meet and establish some sense and in and out, and test it out. And that's the thing that each person need to be done. If you just listen and trying to get it without experiencing it, it's like listening to how to swim. You never succeed. So all the varieties and conditions and application of it, especially living life, you are changing as a skill and all that change in the habitual pattern, and then external environment changes. We need to have that flexibility to live this life. That's the bottom line. It may be difficult. I feel it's difficult to communicate over the internet, but I've done it for, some counted, I think 17 years or something. Not every day, but I had some sense of the vision, and maybe I'm showing on my skateboarding or some such thing, just fun part of it, but that's samadhi experience, or sleeping in the mountain in New Zealand, and there are all the other pictures, sailing and stuff like that. But that may be a case study of me happened in different parts of the world. And then Vipassana came, and that was another major event. And then still putting things together. So that's basically it. If you don't get it, that's fine. You are not supposed to get it. You can only get it when you do it. So all I'm saying, and all my videos basically, is not for you to hear it and understand it. I don't want that. Understanding is only possible when you can execute it. And that's why I like the dialogue and sharing this way. Maybe haphazard and a little crazy, but that's a reality of life. If you can see through the creativity and what you can do, what you can relate to, and get in, try out, and come back, that like kids at the adult level, and especially what's to come and how you may be positioning your life to be the master of destiny and make the most of what you really like, what you like, and helping others, and have fun with the samadhi idea and with the mission that you have to be whatever you want. I want you to be like that, whether you want to be the Nobel Prize winner or something else. It just doesn't matter. It's your choice. But like I said, someone asked me, what's the meaning of life? You are the one to find the meaning of life.